Let's get something out of the way before anyone accuses this video of running a defense campaign. Horrid Henry earned a lot of that name. He lies when it's convenient. He pranks people who did nothing to deserve it. He treats his little brother like a science experiment with feelings. He has turned family outings into natural disasters. If you grew up with this show, you didn't watch it thinking, here's a misunderstood angel. You watched it thinking, what is this maniac going to destroy today? And that was the fun. So no, the title of this video doesn't mean Henry was secretly innocent. He was a problem child, plenty of times, on camera, with witnesses. What the title means is something more specific, and honestly more uncomfortable. He was never the only problem. Because somewhere along the way, his family stopped asking a basic question. Not is Henry usually trouble? He is. The question they stopped asking is, was this particular thing actually him, and the show knows it? That's the part almost everyone missed. This loud, silly British cartoon quietly ran two of the cleanest experiments in kids' television to prove exactly what happens when a family stops judging behavior and starts judging labels. Today we're going to run both experiments back. Start with the names, because the show hands you the whole thesis before a single episode begins. One boy is Horrid Henry. The other is Perfect Peter. That's not their legal names, obviously. It's the franchise's grammar. But think about what that grammar does. Before either kid walks into a scene, you've already been given the verdict. One of them is the problem. One of them is the angel. Now watch the scene and try to see anything else. The family talks in the same grammar. Listen to the most repeated sentence in the entire series. Don't be horrid, Henry. It gets said before he's done anything. It gets said while he's doing something. It gets said when someone else did something. It's not a response anymore. It's a greeting. Somewhere in that house, Henry stopped being a boy who does horrid things and became the horrid one, and those are very different sentences to grow up inside. Peter got the opposite deal, and the official version of this world says it flat out. Mom and Dad think Peter is an angel. He's polite, he eats his vegetables, he behaves beautifully around adults. That's his whole brand. And none of this is accidental. Francesca Simon, who wrote the original books, has said openly that she built this franchise around extreme sibling rivalry. Not the sweet kind where brothers bicker and secretly hug. She wanted something closer to Cain and Abel with packed lunches. Two brothers, two opposite labels, locked in one small house. The TV show wasn't her hands on the wheel, she'd sold the rights by then, but the DNA survived the trip. This series is a machine built around one contrast. And a machine like that is perfect for testing one question. What happens when the kids try to swap labels? And be honest about one more thing. The labels didn't just work on the family. They worked on you. The show is named Horrid Henry. You sat down already agreeing. Every time he walked into frame, you were waiting for the crime. And every time Peter appeared, you relaxed. The series trained its entire audience to think in the family's grammar, which is exactly why the two episodes we're about to watch feel so strange on a rewatch. They're the show catching you doing it because they both try. Each brother in his own episode attempts to escape his role. And the results are the whole video. Experiment 1. Subject: Perfect Peter. Objective: become horrid. Prediction: if the family judges behavior, bad behavior from Peter should get punished like bad behavior from anyone. Let's see, the episode opens with a confession most people forgot was even in this show. Peter is upset because nobody notices how perfect he is. Being good gets him nothing. Meanwhile, Henry misbehaves and the whole house lights up like a stadium. So Peter the angel reaches a genuinely fascinating conclusion. If attention is the prize, horrid is the winning strategy. And he decides to go bad. Hold on to Peter's complaint, by the way. It sounds like a throwaway gag right now. In about 10 minutes, it's going to be the saddest sentence in the episode. What follows is comedy gold, because Peter is catastrophically bad at being bad. He commits his little crimes, and the world keeps refusing to convict him. His misbehavior gets read as a mistake, or a phase, or somehow, impossibly, as more evidence of what a good boy he is. The kid is actively trying to get in trouble, and he cannot buy a punishment. It's hilarious. It's also the experiment already returning data if you're watching closely. Then comes the scene this entire video is built on. Peter sprays Henry with water. Clean case. Victim Henry. Culprit Peter. Henry reports it, truthfully, to Dad. And Dad's first instinct before checking anything is to tell Henry to stop lying. Fine. Reputation talking. But now Peter confesses. The culprit himself, standing there, admitting it. I sprayed him. Case closed, right? Listen to what Dad actually says. Henry should have moved out of the way, ride that back slowly, because it's the most revealing line in the franchise. The evidence changed completely. The verdict didn't move an inch. When the facts said Peter did it, the family's operating system couldn't process the sentence, so it quietly rewrote the sentence into one it could process. Peter can't be guilty, so Henry must have been standing wrong. That's not a dad being lazy. That's a label doing his thinking for him. The episode does it again to make sure you didn't think it was a fluke. Peter plants slugs with the chocolates. Chaos erupts, and Mum's reflex, instant, automatic, is Henry. She reaches the verdict before she reaches the room. Peter has to actually announce his own guilt to get it registered, like a criminal filing his own paperwork, because the police keep arresting someone else. So Experiment 1 returns its result, and it's uglier than the joke it's wrapped in. Peter didn't fail at being horrid because he lacks talent for it. He failed because his family doesn't have a slot where Peter and guilty fit in the same sentence. His label isn't a description of him, it's a filter over him. And if the good kid's label can deflect actual confessed guilt, ask yourself what the bad kid's label is doing in the other direction every single day. Experiment 2. Subject, Horrid Henry. Objective, be genuinely good for one entire day. Stakes, the funfair. Prediction, if behavior is what's being judged, a full day of good behavior should be visible to the people watching him. Should be. Henry wants to go to the funfair badly enough to attempt the impossible. Manners, helpfulness, restraint. And the show plays it straight, he genuinely tries. This isn't a scheme episode where the good behavior is a con. The kid puts in an honest shift. Now watch the world receive it. Juice spills. Mum's reflex fires before her eyes do. Henry. Doesn't matter what he was doing. Doesn't matter that today, of all days, he's been a saint since breakfast. In this house, when something goes wrong, the explanation has a default setting. And the default setting has his name on it. Then the quiet one, and honestly the one that stings most. Henry helps set the table. Small thing. Good thing. And Dad thanks Peter for it. Nobody's being cruel there. That's what makes it chilling. It's just the labels sorting the mail. Good deed arrives at the house, gets delivered to the good kid. Henry did the work, Peter got the credit, and no human in the room even noticed a transaction took place. Put the pair together, because this is the paired evidence that makes the case. When something bad happens, it travels toward Henry without proof. When something good happens, it travels toward Peter without proof. The sorting system runs on labels, not on eyes. Henry changed his behavior completely for a day, and for most of that day it bought him nothing, because the label doesn't take same-day requests. Change the behavior, and the label survives the change. That's the mechanism at the heart of this entire show, but now, the twist that keeps this video honest, because the episode doesn't end where a lazy essay would want it to. Peter, watching Henry collect rare praise, gets jealous. The angel kicks his brother. Henry reports it, and this time Mum actually tells Peter off. Later, Peter throws dung, it hits Mum, and she sees it with her own eyes, no filter available. And at the end of the day, she looks at the full picture, recognizes that Henry genuinely behaved, and rewards him. He goes to the fair. That matters enormously. These parents are not broken machines. Give them clear enough evidence and they update. The labels are sticky, not welded. Henry can climb out of his, Peter can fall out of his, but notice the price of admission. Henry needed a flawless day, plus Peter self-destructing in plain sight just to be seen accurately for one evening. The good kid gets the benefit of the doubt for free. The bad kid has to buy it retail, with a receipt, in front of witnesses. Okay. Time to attack our own case, because right now a reasonable viewer has a very fair objection loaded, and dodging it would make this video weaker than the show it's about. The objection goes like this. Isn't the family just learning from experience? These parents aren't judging a stranger. They have data. Years of it, and the data is real. Henry's school report is a crime novel. The shopping trips are legend. His parents can list disasters with dates attached because they were there, cleaning them up. When a kid promises to be good and his father raises an eyebrow, that eyebrow has evidence behind it. Henry built this reputation himself, brick by brick, prank by prank, and this video is not going to take that away from him. Nobody framed Horrid Henry into existence. He showed up to the job every day. So yes, expecting trouble from Henry is rational. Here's where the line actually sits, and it's a line worth saying carefully because it's the intellectual heart of this whole video. Past behavior should shape your expectations. It should never replace your evidence. Expecting Henry to be guilty is experience. Deciding Henry is guilty while the actual culprit is confessing in front of you, that's not experience anymore. That's a verdict wearing experience as a costume. Go back to the water scene one more time with that line in your head. Dad suspecting Henry first, completely fair. Dad holding the verdict after Peter confessed, that's the moment a reasonable reputation quietly turned into something else. The reputation stopped summarizing the past and started overwriting the present. And a label that can overwrite a confession doesn't need Henry to misbehave anymore. It only needs everyone to keep noticing when he does and to keep not noticing when he doesn't. The label picks which moments count. That's how it stays alive. And notice what a system like that trains the kid to do, because this is where the loop closes on itself. Henry can tell when a verdict was decided before the evidence arrived. Kids always can. And a kid who knows the verdict is pre-printed stops investing in the trial. Why spend a week being good if the label doesn't take same-day requests? Why not at least enjoy the crime you'll be convicted of anyway? So he gets angrier, and louder, and more defiant, and every ounce of that defiance lands in the family ledger as fresh proof that the label was right all along. The pattern can become self-reinforcing. Nobody in that house designed it. Nobody in that house can see it. And it runs beautifully without a single villain on the payroll. Now for the part nobody clicks on this video expecting. Because you came here for Henry, and halfway through the research, the evidence starts pointing somewhere else too. The label system in that house has 2 victims, and the second one is wearing a bow tie, rewind to Peter's complaint at the start of Experiment 1. Nobody notices how perfect he is. Everyone notices how horrid Henry is. As a gag, it's cute. As a piece of information, it's grim. Because think about what Peter is actually reporting. His goodness has stopped registering. Not because it declined. Because it became the baseline. When perfect is your job description, doing your job earns you nothing. There's no headline in the angel behaving like an angel, so run both boys through the same machine and look at the payout table. Henry does something bad, everyone notices, it confirms the label. Henry does something good, suspicion first, credit maybe later if witnesses are available. Peter does something good, silence, that's just Peter. Peter does something bad, the system practically refuses delivery. Neither boy can act outside his role and have it simply count. One kid can't escape being the problem. The other can't get credit for being good, because good is just what he is. The way furniture is furniture. A family system's lens would have names for this, the scapegoat and the golden child, and if you've heard those terms before, you already recognize this house several minutes ago. But let's not diagnose a cartoon family. Plain language does the job better anyway. This is a house with a designated bad kid and a designated good kid, and the deepest thing this silly show ever did was demonstrate that both designations are cages. One of them just has better wallpaper, and once you see it, Peter's whole character rereads. The tattling, the showing off, the desperate polish on everything he does. That's not smugness for free. That's a kid working overtime at the only job that ever got him noticed, secretly aware that the attention economy of his house pays out for Henry's explosions and gives his own perfection the same glance you give a clock. There's a version of this video that's just about Peter. It would be quieter than this one. It might be sadder. So let's write the ending this topic actually deserves. Because the easy endings are both wrong. Ending 1, Henry was the real victim and his family was awful. Too simple. His parents are not monsters. We watched them update when the evidence got loud enough. We watched Mum punish Peter and reward Henry on the same day, in the same episode. And Henry is no martyr. He's a genuine agent of chaos who wrote most of his own reputation and had fun doing it. Ending 2, the whole thing is just a comedy formula, stop overthinking it. Also wrong, because the show itself refused that ending. It didn't have to write an episode where Peter tries to be horrid and physically cannot get convicted. It didn't have to write an episode where Henry goes good for a day and spends most of it invisible. Those are mirror experiments. Somebody in that writer's room understood exactly what this family runs on and built 2 half hours to show it. So here's the real verdict. Henry wasn't secretly perfect. Peter wasn't secretly horrid. The problem in that house was never really either boy. It was that somewhere along the way, the family found 2 labels easier to raise than 2 complicated children. Horrid and perfect are cheap to run. No daily judgment required. The verdicts come pre-printed, and each label kept itself alive the same way, by deciding which moments got noticed and which ones didn't. Henry's label fed on every mistake and starved his good days of light. Peter's label ate his bad days whole and paid him nothing for the good ones, which brings us back to the most famous sentence in the series. Don't be horrid, Henry. You've heard it 1,000 times as a punchline. Hear it once as what it actually is. It's not advice. Advice comes before a choice. That sentence is a verdict delivered on schedule to a kid who learned that the trial happened years ago and he wasn't invited. The show was never really asking whether Henry was horrid. He was, plenty. It was asking a better question, quietly, underneath the noise, for season after season. Once a family decides what a child is, what does that child have to do to be seen as anything else? And the honest answer the show kept giving is, more than any kid should have to. Henry needed a perfect day and a public disaster just to be looked at from 0. Most days, he didn't get looked at from 0. He got looked at from horrid. And the boy in that gap between what he did and what everyone already knew he was, that's the kid this show was actually about.